Vigil, Ante, and the Vigilante Antics by BelleAmant. Read by Oakshadow 5. Chapter 34. Round 2. Sometimes Izuku Midoriya is filled with a sense of regret that he doubts can be matched by others. It's a feeling that doesn't come too often, not as often as the guilt that winds around his heart like a snake, one that coils tighter and tighter until his heart feels ready to give out. But it's an emotion that Izuku has long since become familiarized with, and one that he doubts will ever leave his head for long. Sometimes Izuku regrets selling his spare weapons. Sometimes Izuku wishes that he and Hitoshi had just stuck it out in the orphanage and prayed for luck, rather than reaching out for freedom and a source of income to help them become better vigilantes. Sometimes Izuku regrets becoming a vigilante at all, although this regret is overshadowed by the memories of lives he saved and bettered. And he can't regret toying with the law, but it means people are alive who may not have been otherwise. Sometimes Izuku regrets agreeing to help Sensei, because he knows that he is putting his peers and teachers in danger by giving away information. But even this, he is able to push away when he remembers that he is bringing back his mother in the end. Surely, the price is worth it. Yes, Izuku knows regret, just as he knows how to step around it and persuade himself that his decisions are for the best, and knows that everything will be fine so long as he keeps helping others. He's never expected to be filled with such a foreboding sense of regret over winning a race, of all things. And yet, here he stands, a pit forming in his stomach, as Kayama happily announces that his headband for the cabaret battle is worth 10 million points. It's a way for those at the bottom to rise to the top, Kayama exclaims, but Izuku just feels as if it's a way for the school to sick 40 students on him. A nudge to his shoulder reminds Izuku that he has at least one person on his side. That'll be enough, Izuku supposes. It'll have to be enough, because Izuku doesn't know if anyone else would be willing to team up with him and Hitoshi, not with such a target on their heads. Literally. The bright red headband seems to mock Izuku, and he glares at it before looking up to Hitoshi. "What's the plan, Izu?" Hitoshi asks when the 15-minute strategy period begins, and Izuku frowns. "I'm not sure. I guess we should start by seeing if anyone wants to join us, but I don't know who would want to." It's moments like these where Izuku wishes that he tried reaching out to his peers more, because, sure, he greets some of them in the morning and can make small talk for a moment, albeit really awkwardly, but none of them are really his friends. Well, Tenya is, but the engine-clad teen seems to be joining Todoroki's team, so Izuku is left grasping for straws. Think, Izuku, who had such an interest in you so far? He runs through memories in his head, the past few weeks a blur as fragments of conversations speed past. Kirishima? No, Bakugo's already dragging him away. Kaminari is joining Todoroki. Asui, Jiro, and Uraraka seem to be teaming up. And there goes Ojiro, not like we've really talked. Can't even see Hagakure. Is that offensive? Ashido joined Bakugo too, though that seems to be because he has Kirishima. Alright, it's settled. Izuku is screwed. And then, he isn't. 10 million? An unfamiliar voice screams, and Izuku turns around to see a girl with pink, dread-like hair running towards him, gadgets strapped to her body. Cross-eyed eyes are pinned on him, and the grin she wears is bright and full of plans. "Let me join your team! I want to show my babies to the world, and your point value will cause everyone to look at you, which means that they will see me!" "Your babies," Hitoshi repeats, and the girl nods frantically. "Yes! You may use any that you need for this fight!" She shows off an array of items, from hover boots to a capture gun to... "Toshi," Izuku says slowly. "Toshi, are you ready to live out one of your dreams?" "What do you mean, Izu?" Hitoshi asks, and Izuku smiles devilishly. "She has a jetpack!" In an instant, Hitoshi is smiling just like Izuku, and he turns to the girl. "Welcome to the team. Mei Hatsume?" The girl introduces herself, and Izuku nods. "Welcome to the team, Hatsume-san," Izuku says. "We've got some inventions of our own, but yours will definitely come in handy." "You do?" Hatsume asks. "I thought you two were hero students." "We are," Izuku affirms, and she blinks in surprise. "Hero students aren't allowed to bring in support gear. Only those who made their own gear can bring it in." "We made it all," Hitoshi says, "and we filled out all of the necessary forms." "Oh, your fellow inventors! How perfect!" You should work together sometime, Hatsumi says, any confusion long gone at the exciting idea. Izuku nods. That sounds like a good idea, Hatsumi-san. But first, we should see if there's anyone else we can team up with. Right, Hatsumi says, and shuts her mouth with an audible click. Izuku looks around, eyeing the forming teams, and lets his brain run through their strengths. We have 3 inventors, and a lot of gear between us. Hatsume's hover boots can keep us airborne and can probably move us quicker than we can run. Maybe. So we'll be safe if Kaminari gets too close and lets out some electricity, or Todoroki tries to freeze the ground again. I also have my staff, which I can use to take any electricity that comes our way, and Hitoshi has his staff, which would be able to use Kaminari as a power source if we time it right, without damaging us at all. The jetpack will also help us with evading, and Hitoshi and I both have capture gear to trip others up. If we have enough precision, maybe we can use them to grab headbands? No, that would likely just anger the teams and provoke them even more. So, we focus on evasion, and Hitoshi and I can handle any close attackers with our gear and our strength. But we need defense. Toshi, Izuku says, and Hitoshi turns his gaze to the brunette. Who is left that could work as defense? Hitoshi looks around, and his eyes linger on a certain boy. One that voted for Hitoshi back when they had to decide on a class representative. Tokoyami, Hitoshi says, and that's all Izuku needs to hear before he's racing over to the raven-like male. Tokoyami-san, Izuku calls out, and Tokoyami looks at him with an audible squawk. Want to join my team? Tokoyami shifts from one foot to the other, glancing at Hitoshi and Hatsume. Then, back at Izuku. If you believe that my powers are worthy, then I suppose I will join. Tokoyami agrees after a long pause, and Izuku beams. Perfect! Now, how do you feel about being the rider? Katsuki is on the attack the moment that Midnight calls for the round to start. Explosions spark in his hands as his team races across the field, heading straight for Deku's team. He's not the only one, of course, and he wants to shout when most of the extras in his class immediately race in the same direction. And then, Deku is racing off like a bat out of fucking hell, a bit boot on his foot as he literally soars into the air. Is that a jetpack? Shidiha asks in what sounds like awe, and Katsuki slaps him on the head. Don't just stare! Fucking go after him! He's in the air, Raccoon Eyes points out. How are we supposed to get him? Katsuki feels his eye twitch, and he shouts. Tapeface, make sure I don't touch the ground! He doesn't wait for a response before shooting into the air, using his explosions to send him towards the group. Deku! Katsuki shouts, and the boy looks at him, then glances up at the fucking bird that sits upon the group's shoulders. And Deku promptly deactivates the jetpack, sending them to the ground just as Katsuki gets close enough to reach them, somehow landing and racing away in a second of touching the ground. Fucker! Katsuki growls as Tapeface pulls him back to the group, landing on their shoulders roughly. He wants to go after them. Something tugs at his head, the band ripping off of his forehead. Katsuki turns, baring his teeth at some blunt extra. He promptly gets a blast of his own explosions to the face. Thought you were better than us, huh? The copycat taunts. How's it feel to taste one beast's dust? The boy races off before Katsuki can shoot back his own retort, and Katsuki snarls. Go after him! Katsuki shouts. He stole our goddamn points! Looks like Deku will have to fucking wait. The round speeds by in a blur of explosions and other light noises, points being ripped away and snatched back. Katsuki wants to shout when he finds out that there's only 5 minutes left. And then he shouts for real, because that fucking icy-haired bastard has just frozen over the entire fucking arena. Raccoon Eyes! Katsuki snarls. Melt the fucking ice now! Yeah, I'm on it, the pink girl says, already using her acid to destroy the ice encasing their feet. What's the plan, bro? Shidiha asks, and Katsuki rolls his eyes. Go for the 10 million! But isn't Todoroki going after them? Tapeface asks, and Katsuki husks. Yeah, so he's distracted. We're free, Rokunai says, and then they begin to cross the arena, acid being flung ahead of them to make a clear path, while other teams still struggle to move across the slippery ice. The process is slower than Katsuki would like, but it means the half and half is wearing down Deku for him. So that's fine, he guesses. What's not fine is that the relatively slow pace gives Katsuki time to think. And he does. He was standing in the USJ, staring at the freak show of a monster that was made to kill All Might. Fucking All Might, the symbol of peace. The #1 hero. The man can't be killed, Katsuki thought. He's the #1 for a reason. But that didn't stop the dread that filled his stomach, nor did it keep his heartbeat from spiking. Not that he'd ever tell a soul. He was standing, just standing, when he saw the creature move. Saw it spring into action, saw it cross the plaza in the blink of an eye. Saw it grab Deku by the arm and throw. And he just stood there. He just stood there, frozen, as Deku got tossed around like a rag doll. He just stood there as Deku broke, limbs mottled and purple. He just stood there as Deku pushed past the injuries, past the blood, and acted. He just stood there, covered in soot from fighting off little weakling villains, while Deku went toe-to-toe with the biggest, baddest creature there. Deku, the little quirkless kid who Katsuki had told was useless, was worthless, was never going to be anyone. Deku, who held his own against a biological weapon that was made to equal the strongest man in Japan, and somehow lived to see another day. Katsuki glares at Deku, who suddenly tucks his team to the side as Half and Half's team shoots past Deku's like a fucking rocket or something. The fucker has the enough to smile, to laugh, to call out. Sorry, Ida-kun, good move, but you just made yourself a liability. He has the enough to look so goddamn happy, despite everything that's already happened this school year. I'll show him, Katsuki mutters, and then he blasts forward with a massive explosion, leaving his team behind. He gets hit with something, who even fucking knows what, and is barely recovered by his team. And then the match is over. Deku placed first. Again. The fucker has the nerve to grin, and Katsuki looks away. He can't stand the sight of the quirkless boy, who was able to fight when even Katsuki himself rose up and hesitated. He can't stand the thought of what that might imply about Katsuki. The second round of the sports festival ends, and Shota can't help but smile. Not that anyone can see it, considering his face is covered in bandages, but the sentiment remains. Flipping his microphone off the first chance he can, Shota mutters. First place, 2 rounds in a row. Think he can go 3 for 3? Hisashi asks after turning off his own. He seems to have a lot of tricks up his sleeve by now. I have no doubts that he can, Shota admits. He may be quirkless, but I've never seen someone push past their own setbacks with as much conviction as him. He's got something to prove today, no doubt. And he's probably got tools to counteract his classmates' quirks by now, Hisashi says. I know I heard him muttering about fireproofing some of his gear a few days ago. Shota rolls his eyes, having no doubt that the boy has done far more than simply fireproofing his support items. The boy has been sneaking into the support labs every free minute, dragging Shinzo with him. I know Shinzo has taken the time to fix his gear too, Shota adds, and Hisashi laughs. What are the odds that they'll end up facing each other? Hisashi asks. And Shota doesn't like that thought. Too high, Shota mutters. Too damn high. He's proud of them for getting this far. Not that he say it, but he's pretty sure that he'd quit his job on the spot if they end up facing each other. And knowing his luck, they will. Izuku sneezes as he walks out of the bathroom, not quite sure why. Someone must be talking about me, Izuku thinks wryly, then shakes his head at the ridiculousness of that idea. Shrugging off the thought, Izuku sets his mind to finding Hitoshi. They've got an hour for lunch before the third event starts, and Izuku knows that he'll end up becoming Hitoshi's living pillow for at least half of that time. A hand on his shoulder makes him tense, and it takes everything in the green-haired boy to not throw the person over his shoulder. Instead, Izuku turns around as calmly as possible. Green eyes meet heterochromatic ones, and Izuku smiles politely. Can I help you? He asks. We need to talk, Todoroki says, and so they do. Ooh, we're gonna see the Todoroki and Izuku talk next chapter, hopefully. But anyways, guys, I hope you all enjoyed chapter 34 of Vigil, Ante and the Vigilante Antics, and I see you all next time. Bye!